Have you ever wondered what it looks like when the daughter of one of the most powerful men in American political history falls head over heels for a young Arab billionaire? Most of us will never experience that kind of life, but Tiffany Trump has lived it in full color. From a chance encounter on a Greek island to an almost ruined wedding at one of America's most iconic estates, the love story of Tiffany Trump and Michael Boulos is the kind of tale that reads more like a Hollywood screenplay than real life. And yet, every dramatic twist of it actually happened. So buckle up, because this story has romance, family drama, a raging tropical storm, and a fairy tale ending that almost did not come together. Let us start from the very beginning. The year was 2018, and Tiffany Trump was on vacation in Mykonos, Greece, soaking up the Mediterranean sun and taking a well-deserved break from the pressures of being one of America's most recognized young women. It was during this getaway that she crossed paths with Michael Boulos, a young man of Lebanese and Nigerian heritage whose family controls one of West Africa's most formidable business empires. Their meeting was entirely unplanned, the kind of spontaneous encounter that people spend their whole lives hoping for. By sheer coincidence, both found themselves in the same social circle on that Greek island, and something clicked almost immediately between them. What made their connection so remarkable was how effortlessly it seemed to transcend their different worlds. Here was a young woman raised between California and New York, shaped by the peculiar pressures of growing up in the public eye as a Trump, meeting a young man raised between Lagos and Europe, formed by the culture and ambition of one of Nigeria's most prominent business families. Despite these differences, or perhaps because of them, the two found common ground in ways that surprised even those closest to them. Their conversation flowed, their personalities complemented each other, and by the time that Greek vacation ended, something real had already begun to take root between them. Following that first meeting, Tiffany and Michael embarked on what anyone would describe as a genuinely challenging long-distance relationship. With Tiffany based primarily in the United States and Michael's life and business interests rooted in Nigeria and Europe, the geographical distance between them was no small obstacle. But both of them were determined to make it work, and they did. They were frequently spotted together at high-profile events, including appearances during Donald Trump's presidency, where Michael gradually began the process of being introduced to the broader Trump family circle. It was not a simple thing to walk into. The Trump family, for all its wealth and influence, operates within a world of intense public scrutiny, where every relationship and every new face is analyzed and discussed by millions. Michael handled this transition with a composure that impressed many who observe it. He was calm, measured, and genuinely focused on Tiffany rather than the spectacle surrounding her last name. He attended Thanksgiving gatherings at Mar-a-Lago and holiday events at the White House, quietly earning the trust and approval of a family that has never been easy to impress. To fully appreciate this story, it helps to understand who Tiffany Trump is beyond the famous surname she carries. Born on October 13, 1993, in West Palm Beach, Florida, Tiffany is the only child of Donald Trump and his second wife, Marla Maples. Her parents divorced in 1999 when Tiffany was just 6 years old, and she subsequently moved to California with her mother, growing up far from the Manhattan spotlight that her half-siblings Ivanka, Eric, and Donald Jr. were raised in. Her California upbringing gave Tiffany a perspective on life that was distinctly different from the rest of her family. Surrounded by Hollywood culture and the creative energy of the West Coast, she developed broad interests that range from fashion and music to law and social policy. She attended the prestigious Viewpoint School in Calabasas before going on to the University of Pennsylvania, the same institution her father and sister Ivanka had attended, where she earned a degree in sociology with a concentration in law and urban studies in 2016. After graduating, Tiffany briefly explored careers in fashion and entertainment. She interned at Vogue magazine and even released a pop music single in 2011 titled Like a Bird, which, while not a commercial hit, demonstrated her willingness to step outside expectations and try something different. Eventually, she made the significant decision to pursue a legal education, enrolling at Georgetown University Law Center in Washington, D.C. in 2017. She graduated with her Juris Doctor degree in 2020, completing her academic journey just as the world around her was changing rapidly. Throughout her father's presidency, she appeared at significant events and spoke publicly in support of him, though she always maintained a quieter, more independent profile compared to her siblings. On the other side of this love story stands Michael Boulos, a young man whose name was virtually unknown outside certain elite circles, until his relationship with Tiffany brought him into global headlines. Born on August 27, 1997, Michael is the son of Masud Boulos, a Lebanese-Nigerian business magnate who heads Boulos Enterprises, a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate with extensive operations across Nigeria and West Africa. The company is particularly prominent in Nigeria's transportation sector, dealing in motorcycles, power bikes, and tricycles, while also maintaining significant investments across multiple other industries. What sets the Boulos family apart from many wealthy families of similar standing is their deliberate preference for privacy. Despite commanding a business empire of extraordinary scale, they have historically chosen to operate away from the kind of public attention that so often accompanies immense wealth. This quality would have kept Michael Boulos completely off the global radar were it not for the woman he fell in love with. Michael's upbringing was genuinely international. He was educated in elite institutions across Nigeria and Europe, developing fluency in multiple cultures and languages that gave him an unusually broad worldview for someone his age. Within the family business, he has taken on an increasingly significant role over the years, focusing on strategic expansion and investment across African markets, with the
understanding that he is being prepared to take on a leadership role in the Boulos empire. He is, in every meaningful sense, a young man shaped by ambition, discipline, and a deep sense of family responsibility. On January 19, 2021, just days before Donald Trump concluded his term as the 45th President of the United States, Michael Boulos got down on one knee and asked Tiffany Trump to be his wife. The setting for this milestone moment was none other than the White House Rose Garden, a location steeped in American history and symbolic significance. Only a small number of close family members were present, making the moment as intimate as it was monumental. The engagement ring Michael presented that day immediately became a topic of conversation in jewelry circles and tabloids alike. A breathtaking 13-carat emerald-cut diamond set in a platinum band, the ring was crafted by celebrated New York-based jeweler Samir Halaby, who is known for creating extraordinary pieces for wealthy and high-profile clientele. Estimated to be worth approximately $1.2 million, the ring was a statement of intent that nobody could question. On January 19, 2021, Tiffany announced the engagement publicly through an Instagram post that captured both joy and sentimentality. She wrote about the honor of having shared so many historic moments at the White House and described her engagement to Michael as the most special of them all. Michael echoed her sentiment with his own post, declaring that he had gotten engaged to the love of his life. The response was immediate and overwhelming, with fans, media outlets, and well-wishers flooding their social media pages with congratulations. From the moment their engagement became public, anticipation began building around what their wedding would look like. Given who they were and the worlds they came from, expectations were naturally sky-high. And when the details began to emerge, it became clear that Tiffany and Michael were not going to disappoint. The couple chose Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump's legendary luxury estate and private club in Palm Beach, Florida, as the venue for their nuptials. The choice was deeply personal. Mar-a-Lago has been central to the Trump family's most cherished private gatherings for decades, and for Tiffany, it represented a connection to her family's history and her own most meaningful memories. The estate's Mediterranean-style architecture, sweeping gardens, and stunning oceanfront views provided an almost impossibly beautiful backdrop for what was planned to be a day of pure elegance. And then came the storm. Quite literally. In the days immediately preceding the November 12, 2022, wedding date, a tropical storm bore down on Florida with the kind of force that turns careful plans into chaos. Mar-a-Lago's outdoor areas, which were absolutely central to the ceremony and reception setup, suddenly faced a genuine threat of damage. The carefully arranged decorations, the floral installations, the outdoor seating, all of it was suddenly vulnerable to the wrath of an uncooperative sky. Reports at the time indicated that staff at Mar-a-Lago were working around the clock to assess the situation and determine how best to protect the preparations that had taken months to put together. Beyond the weather, there were additional layers of tension adding pressure to an already high-stakes situation. Concerns had circulated internally about the public optics of hosting a lavish, high-profile celebration during a period when Donald Trump was navigating significant political controversy. There was a fear, understandable given the intense media environment surrounding the family, that the wedding might become more of a lightning rod for commentary than a private celebration of love. And then there were the security considerations, which are never simple when the guest list includes a former president, his family, and a collection of international business figures. Additional security measures had to be planned and implemented, adding another layer of logistical complexity to an already demanding situation. But Tiffany Trump, by all accounts, refused to allow any of it to derail her day. Those who know her describe a woman who, beneath the soft-spoken exterior, carries a determined and focused core. She took charge of the contingency planning, working with the Mar-a-Lago team to ensure that if the storm forced the ceremony indoors, that transition could be made smoothly and beautifully. Backup plans were drawn up, arrangements were adjusted, and every member of the team involved in the wedding was prepared for multiple possible scenarios. Then, in what can only be described as perfect timing, the storm cleared. The clouds parted. The sun broke through. And Tiffany Trump walked down the aisle in the warm Florida light, right on schedule, exactly as she had always imagined. On November 12, 2022, surrounded by the people they loved most, Tiffany Trump and Michael Boulos became husband and wife. Tiffany wore a custom gown by the acclaimed Lebanese designer Elie Saab, a choice that carried a beautiful layers of meaning. The dress, with its intricate lace work, elegant silhouette, and sweeping train, was widely celebrated as one of the most stunning bridal looks in recent memory. By choosing a Lebanese designer, Tiffany made a quiet and deeply meaningful gesture of respect and acceptance toward her husband's cultural heritage. The guest list was everything one would expect from a Trump family occasion, featuring family members, political figures, and celebrities. Donald Trump and Melania were present, as were Ivanka, Eric, and Donald Trump Jr. Members of the Boulos family flew in from Nigeria and Europe, their presence representing the multinational character of the union being celebrated. The reception that followed in Mar-a-Lago's Grand Ballroom was an evening of dancing, speeches, and celebration, with a menu that wove together American, Lebanese, and Nigerian culinary traditions in a beautiful reflection of the couple's blended worlds. Donald Trump gave a speech in which he expressed his joy at seeing his youngest daughter marry the man she loved. It was, by every account, a genuinely moving moment from a man not always associated with public sentimentality. Since their wedding, Tiffany and Michael have been building a life together that balances multiple continents, careers, and aspirations. They divide their time between the United States and Europe, with Michael's business interests in Africa continuing to grow. Tiffany has spoken about her desire to expand her own involvement in business and philanthropy, with a particular focus on causes related to education and women's empowerment. Both of them have hinted at wanting to start a family in the future, and by every available indication, they are doing so on their own timeline and in their own way. Their story is ultimately one about two people from remarkably different worlds who found each other by chance on a Greek island and chose to build something real together. Through political controversy, tropical storms, and the relentless pressure of public life, they held on to what they knew was genuine. And that, more than the diamonds or the designer gowns or the gilded ballroom, is what makes their story worth telling.